She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "It's not you, it's me," right after I showed her the texts. Those 5 words sliced through me deeper than any insult could. The kind of calm, rehearsed line people use when they've already decided you don't matter anymore. My hands were still trembling from the discovery, but she just stood there, pretending this was something mature and mutual, not the wreckage of trust scattered across our kitchen floor. I am 31 years old and own a small auto repair shop. I spend most of my days fixing engines, covered in grease, and coming home to a woman I thought was my peace. Clara worked in marketing, always on her phone, always talking about campaigns and deadlines. At first, I found her ambition attractive. I liked that she was driven, social, connected. But as months passed, those same traits began to wear thin. Her phone never stopped buzzing. She smiled at messages she never explained. Every time I asked who it was, she waved it off as work. In the beginning, I ignored the small signs. The late nights at the office. The perfume that didn't smell like the one I bought her. The quick tilt of her phone when I walked by. I told myself relationships need trust, and that insecurity ruins good things. I was proud of how calm I was, how grown up I'd become. But deep down, something uneasy brewed every time she said she was too tired to talk, too busy for dinner, too drained for affection. Then came last Friday. She was in the shower, her phone charging on the kitchen counter. I didn't mean to look, but when the screen lit up, my heart stopped. The name said Paul. The message said, "Can't stop thinking about last night." I stared at it so long the screen went dark again. I wanted to believe there was another explanation. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a joke. My mind built excuses faster than I could read the truth already written there. Curiosity won over denial. I scrolled up and felt the room tilt. Messages stretched back weeks. They had pet names, plans to meet, and long threads filled with the kind of passion she hadn't shown me in months. One of her voice notes said his name with a softness I used to think belonged to me. My chest burned. My throat dried. We were sitting at the table that night, candles flickering softly, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce filling the air. It was her favorite pasta, something I cooked every time she said she missed normal dinners together. I remember watching her move around the table, laughing, pretending to be relaxed, pouring wine like we were still the same couple we used to be. Her face glowed in the candlelight, but there was a distance in her eyes that no warmth could hide. I sat there quietly, letting her talk about her day, every word tasting like a lie. I had spent the entire day trying to convince myself I was wrong, that maybe there was another explanation for those messages. But now, sitting across from her, listening to her voice, every doubt disappeared. She was too composed, too cheerful, as if she was performing a scene she had already rehearsed. My heart was racing, but my expression stayed calm. I wanted her to show a flicker of guilt, anything that said she knew what I knew. She didn't. Halfway through the meal, I picked up my phone from the table and slid it toward her. The screen faced up bright against the dim light. I said softly that she might want to explain this. She frowned, confused for a second, until her eyes met the words on the screen. Then it happened. The color drained from her face. The smile disappeared. She froze, staring at the messages she had sent, the photos she thought were private, the voice notes where her voice was filled with a tenderness I hadn't heard in months. Silence spread through the room like smoke after a fire. She didn't speak. She didn't move. For a few moments, we just stared at each other across the table, the candles burning low between us. Then her lips trembled and tears filled her eyes. She covered her face with her hands, shaking, and whispered the same line I had already heard once. "It's not you, it's me." I sat there, waiting for something real, but those words were hollow. Not an apology, not regret, just a script meant to soften betrayal. I asked her if it was worth it. She cried harder, trying to catch her breath, saying she felt trapped, that our life had become predictable, that I was too stable, too calm, too certain. She said she needed to feel alive again, that she didn't mean to hurt me. I listened, every word pushing me further away from her. When she finally looked up, mascara streaking down her cheeks, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. The kind of emptiness that comes after you accept a truth you can't change. I stood up, pulled out my chair, and said quietly that she should go find that excitement somewhere else. Her face twisted in panic. She jumped up, ran around the table, grabbed my arm, begging me not to go. She promised she would end things with him, that it had meant nothing, that she just got lost for a while. Her words spilled out too fast to believe. I looked at her hand clutching my sleeve and saw the same hand that used to fix my collar before work, the same fingers that used to draw circles on my palm when she said she loved me. Now it felt like a stranger's touch. I told her it was too late. Trust doesn't die suddenly. It bleeds out slowly until there's nothing left. And ours had already bled dry. I went to the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled out a duffel bag. She followed me, still crying, still begging, saying we could fix it, that we had built too much to throw away. I packed in silence, each folded shirt feeling like a small funeral. I took only what I needed, left everything else behind. She stood by the door as I zipped the bag, her voice breaking, saying my name over and over like that would make me stay. I brushed past her and walked out without looking back. Outside, the air was cold. My car was parked under the streetlight. The night, so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I started the engine and drove. No anger, no music, just the sound of tires on asphalt and that one sentence looping in my mind. It's not you, it's me. She had said it like she was freeing me, but all she did was show me how little I had ever meant to her. The drive to my brother's house took an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't even think. I just drove through the darkness, watching the city lights fade in the rearview mirror. By the time I pulled into his driveway, I felt a strange calm settling in. Betrayal had burned through every emotion I had left. I sat there for a while before stepping out, realizing that something inside me had closed for good. It wasn't me. It had never been me. It was her. Every lie, every choice, every secret. And now, finally, I was done carrying the weight of someone else's emptiness. The next morning started with my phone buzzing nonstop on the night. By noon, the tone changed. The apologies turned into guilt trips. You're destroying everything we built. You can't just erase love. I read each one once and then blocked her number. My silence wasn't revenge. It was survival. There was nothing left to say, nothing worth rescuing from a story that had already burned out. I moved on to what I could control. My shop, my hands, my work. That week, I threw myself into fixing engines the way other people drown themselves in bottles. I stayed late, took extra clients, cleaned every inch of the place until it gleamed. The smell of oil and metal became therapy. Each car that rolled and broken and rolled out whole gave me a strange comfort. Machines were honest. If something was wrong, you could see it, touch it, fix it. People weren't like that. When silence became louder than shouting, she tried other ways. She reached out through mutual friends, sending messages like, "Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I'll do anything." One even showed up at my shop saying she hadn't eaten in days, that she was falling apart. I thanked the messenger for the concern and went back to work. Some lessons are meant to be learned alone. 2 weeks later, the story reached me from someone who used to work with her. Paul, the man she risked everything for, was married. His wife had found out. There was a confrontation at their office, a screaming match in the parking lot that drew a crowd. Word spread fast. HR got involved. By the end of that week, Paul was suspended and Claire was fired. She lost her job, her reputation, and whatever illusion of love she thought she had. I didn't need to lift a finger. Her world folded in on itself. I took the money I'd saved for our anniversary trip and used it to upgrade my shop instead. A new lift, better tools, brighter lights. The day the equipment arrived, I stayed late just to assemble everything myself. Every screw I tightened felt like closure. Every new piece of metal glinting under the fluorescent light reminded me that I could rebuild anything except trust. Her name still came up occasionally. A friend mentioned seeing her at a cafe, alone, looking pale and smaller somehow. Another said she had tried to get her old job back, but no one wanted to take the risk. I didn't feel proud or vindicated. I just felt distant, like I was watching a movie I had already finished. Revenge wasn't something I needed. Life had already taken care of that part. I realized that some people destroy themselves when the lies run out. You don't need to set the fire. You just have to stop feeding it. 3 weeks after I blocked her, I went home one evening and found a handwritten letter slipped under my door. The envelope had no name, but the handwriting was hers. Inside, she wrote that she still loved me, that she couldn't forgive herself, that she wished she had never met him. I read it once and tore it in half. Closure doesn't come from apologies. It comes from choosing peace over pain. The nights grew quieter. I started sleeping better, waking up before dawn to open the shop. Clients noticed the change. They said I looked focused, lighter. Maybe I did. Maybe that's what happens when you finally stop carrying someone who was never meant to stay. Sometimes I passed the restaurant where we had that last dinner. The same table still by the window, the same smell of pasta drifting out onto the street. I never went in. I didn't need to. That chapter was over. Months later, business was booming. I hired a new assistant, painted the walls, and hung a small sign above the counter that read "Rebuilt, not replaced." It became my quiet motto. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't need to. I simply kept moving forward while her choices caught up to her. And in the end, that was enough. Because the truth always does what it's meant to. It finds its way back, no matter how many lies try to bury it. And when it does, it levels everything standing in its path. 6 months later, the weight that once sat heavy on my chest was gone. The mornings felt quieter, cleaner, almost new. My business had grown beyond what I imagined. I hired an assistant named Malik, a young guy eager to learn, full of energy that reminded me of who I used to be before everything fell apart. The shop was busy from sunrise to sunset, cars lining up outside, customers shaking my hand, thanking me for the honesty I had almost forgotten to value in myself. Every night when I turned off the lights, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. My weekends were finally mine again. I started fishing with my dad on Saturdays, just the two of us by the lake. The kind of silence that used to feel lonely now felt peaceful. Sometimes I didn't talk for hours, just sat there, watching the water move. He would glance at me and smile, proud without needing to say it. I learned to find comfort in the simple things again, things that didn't need anyone's validation. I stopped checking my phone all the time. No more waiting for messages that never came. No more anxiety in every notification sound. Life slowed down, and for the first time I let it. I started reading again, cooking for myself, keeping the house clean, not because someone might come over, but because it felt good to live in order. Healing didn't come like a thunderstorm. It came quietly, through routine, through peace, through choosing calm over chaos. Then one morning, while grabbing coffee downtown, I saw her. Clara. She was standing by the window of the cafe, holding a paper cup, staring into nothing. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked thinner, paler. The sparkle that once made her glow now dimmed. She noticed me and froze. Then she smiled, a small, tired smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You look happy," she said softly. "I am," I answered. Her eyes glistened as she nodded, almost as if she had been waiting to hear those words. She said she told me it wasn't me, but what she hadn't realized was that she never knew who she was. She spoke quietly, with a kind of sadness that wasn't about me anymore. It was about her, the person she became chasing something that didn't exist. I nodded, not out of pity, but because I finally understood. There was no bitterness left in me, no anger, no need to remind her of the pain she caused. I wished her well, truly. Then I walked away. The sun was rising higher, the streets coming alive with sound. Each step I took felt lighter than the last. It wasn't triumph. It was peace. That night, after closing